giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom, back. No. Finally, Skywalker has come back to YouTube. Boy, does it feel good. I like a little break, but I like talking to y'all too, man. I missed y'all, man. Coming up, we pick up the state of the unit. We're going to focus on the edge rushers today. Yes, indeed, Big Flock. Yes, indeed. Going to play with some predictions. We'll see what these guys will do. Also in the roundup, Cowboys get docked once again. And PFF, dog. PFF is at it again. Honestly, I could have did an entire show on just that, but that's where we'll do the first part of the show. We'll talk about that situation. But before we get into any of all of that nonsense, what's up, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
What's good, man? It's been a little bit, huh? It's been about 4 days since I've been on here. 2 weekdays, but 4 total days since I've been on here, man. Definitely missed you. We are hitting that period of the off season where it's just ugly in regards to Cowboy stuff. But like we do on this channel, and I've been doing for years, we're going to continue to try to provide y'all with as much quality content as we can. So we got a lot of different ideas lined up, and I promise I got you. But before we get into any of that, man, I hope everyone had a fantastic Father's Day weekend. I know I did. Shout out to my lady, Michelle, for holding it down. She made sure that the Father's Day weekend was a blast. My two wonderful sons also made sure of that. I hope all the fathers out there enjoyed your Father's Day weekend, or your fathers. Anybody that's a father or father figure, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great one. I couldn't ask for a better one. And I'm just excited to start this summer. I really am. This period for me, content-wise, it might be a little weird because we're not really talking about any news. It's just kind of going to be getting by. But life-wise, I can't wait to just get through the next 2 months of the summer. And then we run right into training camp, so it'll be fun. So yeah, man, PFF be trolling. I thought that too. Michael H. Until I went on Twitter. Wait, music, you just stopped. And I saw the writer was dead serious. So, y'all know what we talking about. We'll get into it, man. But, Darren, I've missed the show too, brother. I've missed the show too. The days off are always good. I haven't really had a full-fledged vacation just yet since I moved down here. We'll probably do that sometime in August. So, a day here or there is expected. I'm letting y'all know right now. Probably won't see 5 shows a week every single week over the next about month and a half. You'll get it most of the weeks, but not every single one. So I'm just letting y'all know that, man. But real quick, I didn't give any shout-outs to the Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
Of course, we got Toxic Tom in the building, Asmodeus, the NP, Darren Dunn, Common Sense Cowboys fan. Common Sense, that's kind of, are you new? I don't recall that name. What's up? I like that name. Stephen White, Lemitra, Big Flock was good. James Ferguson, Michael H, Mr. Woods, what up? I said Michael H. Matish Patel, Quiddy, Stephen White in the building, Brandon Taylor, Uncut Coat. I like it. Our guy Twan Swain in the building, Connor Williams, C. Burleson. Who else we got up in here? This is all on YouTube, by the way. Jermaine Cobb Jr. was good. Abram. Who else? Big H. Lamar, I got shanked by the butter knife. I love that name as well. Love that name. Yeah, Nick Mims. I see you, Nick Mims, over here. D Schiff in the building. Was good, D. We got somebody just dropped Legends of 88. What up? Ghostface Triller was good. Or Thriller, my bad. Chuck P on Facebook. Let me get the Facebook. Gotti baby, my bad, Gotti baby. I see you in the building. Peter Rizzo and CJ Richards, of course. D.A. Lee. Cedric Betts. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all come through early and often. And I'm going to be real with you. This time period is most likely going to be the community. I don't expect these things to go crazy because it's slow news. There isn't any news, really. Let's just be real. There's no news. And we're just going to have some fun over the next month. I know I talk about getting players and things like that. I'm trying. I do got something lined up for Thursday. I don't like to say because those things are not smooth. Things change, fast with these players. And we're not ESPN. I'm not Stephen A. I'm not skipping these guys who get all these players because of, they are who they are. So we're trying to get to the level where we're respected enough to be like, yo, we want to go rap this guy because he does great interviews. So we're working on that. Got a couple of players that I've been talking to. One is confirmed for this Thursday, so we'll see what's up. We'll see what we can do, man. With that said, I am excited to talk today about the edge rushing unit because I truly do believe if this defense wants to stay the course, this unit is going to be the most important one. And I'm going to tell you why after we get out this roundup. But let's jump into it because we got to talk about this, man.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
Time.
It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Yes, indeed. Just like I stated at the top of the show, Dallas got docked once again. Listen, Mike, I'm not mad at you at all. This is the NFL to me. They look soft with this crap. But Mike McCarthy was fined $100,000 last, Thursday or Friday, and docked a 2023 OTA practice for violating the practice rules. This is the second year in a row this has happened with Mike McCarthy. I hate it sounds funny because I look young, but I am more of an old school-ish fan in regards to football. This doesn't bother me. Now, $100,000, I don't care how much money, man. I don't want to get docked $100,000. That's crazy. I wonder if Jerry is going to pay for this. We'll see. But this is what they said. The practices that they held were deemed too physical by NFL standards. The organization was not fined, unlike in 2021 where they were fined. This is per Todd Archer. Come on, NFL. Really? Too physical? What was this because of the fight with Big Country and Josh Ball? What was too physical? Also, I'm just curious. I mean, maybe I can ask somebody that's down there. How do the NFL find out about this? Do teams have to send tape to the NFL? Or are there NFL liaisons at every OTA practice across the league? Is there a snitch, a mole inside the league? Are the referees snitching? Like, what? How do teams find out, or how do the NFL find out about these things? It's wild to me, man. Too physical with no pads. They're not tackling. Eesh. You can't really win, can you? We complain about the league being too soft. Mike McCarthy gets a little physical and they get fined. I swear in 20 years we'll be playing with flags. Now let's get to the real issue here. And again, this will likely be the first part of the show. By the way, I want y'all to call in once I get back to the screen. I want to hear what y'all got to say about this. So a PFF writer, and an emphasis on writer, says that Kellen Moore is the second best play caller in the entire National Football League. Sir, I would love to get him on because I know what he's going to do. This is what I think happened. And let me just preface this before I, go on my rant. I feel like I have to say this about PFF, y'all. Their statistics, the analytics, the numbers, phenomenal. Amazing. I love it. I go there for all types of little things that you just can't get from a volume standpoint. And honestly, we don't even have access to all the numbers that the teams have access to. But from a grades standpoint, from a article writing standpoint, it's an acquired taste. It's an acquired taste. And this is what we have to do here, because a lot of people saw this thing and they said, oh, well, look, PFF said Kellen Moore is the second best offensive play caller. So, yeah. No. Eric Eager said Kellen Moore was the second best offensive play caller. Guys, I could have wrote an article. Mauricio could have wrote an article. Cole could have wrote an article. Matt Lennox, Shane Carter, all of our wonderful writers for the Dallas Cowboys could have wrote an article and said Kellen Moore's the second best play caller. And if all it would have took was one prominent person on Twitter to see it and retweet it and went around and we'd have got all the engagement. But it's PFF. It don't take that much. One into the little visual they put up on Twitter, and this guy is in there getting butt hurt because a lot of Cowboys fans that pay attention was calling his ass out. Rightfully so. Can I go back? I just want to see the list. He has Byron Leftwich, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Matt LaFleur. I should have pulled the whole thing up. All below Kellen Moore. Okay. Here's a number, by the way. 351-999-3787. Let me just say this, Kellen. I don't think you're a bad offensive whatever. I don't. But I don't know what this guy was going with here. And I have a feeling he just looked at numbers, because when I went and looked at his responses in Twitter, it was all EPA and passing this and all these analytical numbers. That's fine and dandy. But it might seem like it's context, but to me, you could not have watched every single game, every single snap of the entire football season. You just couldn't have. And when I clicked, and I think there was an article, I clicked into the article, he illustrated plays from the first 4 or 5 weeks, which he should, because that's exactly when the offense was at its top peak. But this is how I know this guy can't possibly follow the Cowboys. Exactly what happened last year, injuries with or not, is exactly what has been happening throughout his tenure as an offensive coordinator. Starts off hot, things get weird towards the end. He could not have possibly been following game script. He could not have possibly been understanding the timing and the scenarios of the situation. He could not have possibly been watching with the same. And because when you watch the game and not 7 months later, there's an energy, there's a feel to it. There's a rhythm and flow to the game that the offensive play caller has to know. But if I watch a game in June from last November, likely on mute, likely all 22, I'm just literally watching plays. You're not understanding what's happening during the game. So this was most likely done, I thought so at least, to get the clicks. I thought it was done to generate buzz, but then the way he was in there capping was wild to me. If y'all recall during the season when we went through a weird rut, a lot of you guys won't, but I'll reiterate it here. There was a time period during the season when the offense was stalling opening up series. Never really quite got fixed. Okay, so I went back, looked at some more numbers. Here are some numbers from the opening drives for the Cowboys. Not counting week 18 against the scrimmage game. They went 3 and out or downs 6 times in the 2021 season. They only had 3 opening drive touchdowns, but only 1 after week 8. 1 after week 8. In fact, in total, they only had 4 scoring drives to start the game. And if you go and look at some of I always bring this up. Andy Reid is fantastic in his first 15. His scripted plays for his entire career have been fantastic. I've been jealous. And it's something in Dallas that we just never really could get rhythm with in regards to our first 15. Now you go look at the Super Bowl champions. Cowboys had 4 opening drive scores. The Rams had 9. Dallas went 3 and out 6 times. That doubled the Rams. They went 3 and out 3 times. Or downs, by the way. 3 and out, or they went for it on 4th down and didn't get it. Sean McVay is that offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is our offensive coordinator. That's just one aspect of it. Now go to the playoffs and tell me Kellen Moore dialed up a better game than any of the games that Sean McVay had in the 2021 playoffs. Don't quite understand it. Then I went and saw his retorts, and he was saying that the EPA per drop back and pass and all this other stuff is the reason why he's ahead of Kyle Shanahan. I didn't even bring up Kyle. His resume speaks for itself. What resume does Kellen Moore have? Before you tell me, we're the number 1 scoring offense in the league. Oh, yeah. How'd that number 1 scoring offense do against those top-ranked teams, huh? I'm going to keep on telling you that because that's context. I'm sorry that you average 40 points per game against the sorry NFC East, and I'm not buying that when it matters against the better teams. You average 40 against those teams. You average 24 against the others. And you scored, 16 in the playoffs. So I'm going to get off that soliloquy there. I just felt like this needed to be said at the first part of this show before we get into the state of the unit. I didn't want to do an entire show dedicated on it because we've beat this thing. We've beat this horse to the brains, to the white meat. We have. Kellen, you're not dumb. You know what you're doing. You're arrogant as hell, and I don't like it because your resume doesn't allow you to be. But please show some improvement this year. Or put the kids away, grow some balls. One or the other. Because some people are going to say, well, the front office said he can't do this. If it's working, screw the front office. I digress. I'll just get heated again. So, how we feeling here in this chat after I just went off on your boy? And I don't hate the guy. I just want him to do better. And now, he doesn't have quite the same weapons as he had last year. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Here goes Swain. How much did Stephen Jones and JJ have to pay this BS in the air? I don't know what made him think that he was the second best. I don't understand that, man. I don't understand that. Shout out to my OG B Bird.
Super chat.
$5 donation. He says, a running back has 20 carries for 110 yards. Good game, right? Suppose he got 90 carries on one. 90 yards on one carry. That means he had 20 yards on the other. 19. Context matters. Whole reason why I started doing what I'm doing, because they completely ignore these things. Context matters. All right. We good? We get that out? I had to get it out, y'all. I couldn't sit back and let this go. I saw Mo do this show. I think it was yesterday or two days ago. I saw Mo do the show, and I said, oh, no. I got to go talk to my peoples. I got to go talk to the bomb squad about this because I don't like it. Toxic says, Sky, I will say it again, getting Jason Garrett era vibes from Kellen Moore so far. So similar to how Jason ascended to head coach. It is, bro. It is. Not going to lie to you. My nickname for Kellen is Field Goal. If I'm not mistaken, let me go see how many field goals. We only had one field goal. That's why I included all points. I said, all right, listen, I ain't gonna just say touchdowns, because if you get points on opening drive, to me, that's a success. 4 times they scored on the opening drive this year. Super Bowl champions, 9. Mr. Wood says Cliff Kingsbury 2.0. Is PFF calling on Kurt Warner film review on Moore? No. Of course they're not. You know that. I agree with you, Rodney. I agree with you. All right, y'all. Let's move forward here. Let's reset. By the way, again, if y'all wanted to call in, we can come back to this, but we're going to move forward and start talking about this state of the unit, edge rushers. Like I said at the top of this show, if the Cowboys want to duplicate their defense of success like last year, I went and looked, all right, which unit needs to, at the very least, maintain the level of success? And this is an interesting one, because if we go look at the room in general, it wasn't any one particular player here, because even Tank Lawrence was out for a while, that set the world on fire last year in regards to pass rushing. It was Micah, right? It was Micah. And Micah will have a lot to say about this. He absolutely will. I don't want to knock that part of it. But these guys will be rushing the passer more than Micah Parsons. That's just natural, because he's going to be playing linebacker. And you would imagine your secondary, at the very least, got a little better by having your two starting safeties that didn't start the year last year that are better than the guys that did. Your cornerbacks are another year in the system, and another guy's an all-pro going into his third year. But all that doesn't matter if your pass rush isn't as ferocious as it was last year. And here's why I think it has the potential to be better than last year. And that hinges really on DeMarcus Lawrence's health. But last year, they were ranked 6th in pressure rate when rushing 5 or more. And they also ranked 6th when they rushed 4. So that's a testament to me to one, Dan Quinn, and then obviously Micah Parsons, because Micah he's just a nasty player. Question mark on Goldston. You just hold tight, Joey. I got you. So let's start at the bottom here and talk about rookie Sam Williams. We've mentioned Sam Williams a number of times here since he's been drafted. And I talked about this before with Sam. I think he's going to do a little more than just your standard speed rusher things. Now, I don't think he's going to put a lot on his plate like he did with Micah Parsons. Like Micah he was literally in 2 different rooms. I don't see Sam being in 2 different rooms. But I see him lining up and down the line of scrimmage, and even behind the line of scrimmage from time to time as a stand-up outside linebacker. And I have this faith, Cowboys Nation, because of what I saw Dan Quinn do with Osa last year, what I saw him do with Chauncey, and honestly what I saw him do with Randy. Now, Randy is a veteran, so it's a bit different, but Osa and Chauncey were rookies. So I don't think he's going to be like, hey, man, we need you to read and react from a linebacker standpoint. No. I think he's going to say, if you're here, this is what you do. When you're here, that is what you do. Less reading, just go get the cue. I can see Sam Williams being a designated pass rusher year 1, barring injury. Because if you go look at the snap count, most of these guys are only going to see about 35 snaps max unless guys are hurt. And that's what kind of happened last year. Guys got hurt. But let's go back and take a listen to Dan Quinn talk about Sam Williams when he first met Sam Williams and how he might utilize Sam Williams. So here's Dan Quinn on that back in, I believe it was rookie camp.
Very early. Can you just talk about Sam Williams, what you like about him, how you view him,
Sure.
what he needs to work on?
Yeah, and it was this is usually one of my more favorite weekends, through the NFL, and getting to be a part of, like, the guy's first entry into the NFL. And it's like for as long as I can remember, from my first year coming into the NFL, of going to your first mini camp and being part of a team again. So I've just loved it. So what are we looking for, from not just Sam, but from a lot of the guys, was just to see their movements and get a chance to see what they can do. And I think that's kind of what this first 3 days are about, to find unique traits, and then it's up to us to find the traits that a player has. Okay, this is how we'd feature them. And so to me, the evaluation is now, and then it goes in through the OTAs, and then there's another part of it that goes into camp. But one thing we do know for sure, there's speed and there's explosiveness and get off, all the things you look for in a rush. But past that, that's now I'm just trying to find right side, left side, inside, outside. And so I'll try some new jobs, some new positions. Some will work well, some won't. And then, but I like to do those projects now and in the spring to find out what a guy can do. And so I have a high standard for what I think he can do, but it'll take a while to get to know him and inside out and all the things, unique stuff that he has.
Right side, left side, inside, outside. You don't do that with the play. You don't even mess around with it unless you think he can do it. And Sam showed in college that he could play some of that 4-eye. I'm not saying he's going to be doing that a lot, but he has the experience and the strength. You can see the dude is big. I mean, this guy's not coming in here little. He got some of that grown man strength already to him. And if you listen to some of the guys down at camp, they say they see it even without the pads. So I think Sam Williams is going to be an interesting study in year one because it's not going to quite be Micah. I don't think so, at least, where he's rushing the passer or being on the field as much as Micah was. But I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that just sits the bench either. I think he's going to get out there, and I think he has the chance. And I went and looked at some of these contracts, man. Different feeling than it was at the beginning when all this went down. I'm just saying, if he goes out there and he keeps improving, because he's a guy that's turning heads out there at OTAs and minicamp, one practice minicamp. If he keeps improving, I don't know if it's going to take long for him to supplant somebody. That's all I'm saying. Somebody. So, I told you guys we're going to do a little bit of prediction. So, we're going to predict these guys as well. How many sacks? Give me the sack number on Sam Williams for his rookie season, Cowboys Nation. Now, get to the chat. I saw the homie Aisha's in the building. Left Aisha, what's up? She says, I think the defensive tackles are going to be that group this year. They're definitely going to be part of that, without a doubt. Because our if you really look at our run defense last year, wasn't that great. We didn't get gashed a whole lot because of the offensive outpouring we did at the beginning of the year. But from a yards per carry standpoint, it was 4 point whatever. But this has kind of been the scenario for the Cowboys for like a decade, right? I think the interior is going to be extremely important come playoff time when teams are going to look to run the football on you boys. But from a pass rushing standpoint, if they can't get home this year, at the very least, an equal rate, now you're really in trouble, because if you can't stop the run that well and you can't get home to the pass rusher, you're going to get gouged in the passing game. So I need them to be, at the very least, equal to last year, because if they're not, until I see it with the run game, I have to believe that the run defense is going to be the same. That's about it. I think it's going to be the same until I see it. The pass rush, I saw it be beastie. I saw the difference it made on this team. And if this team wants to remain at least even with last year's defense or surpass it, it's going to need to be as good or better than last year, if that makes sense. So let's get to some of these numbers. Ooh, I see some big numbers. Whoa. Y'all got some lofty expectations. JT, the pipe layer, said 10 sacks. CJ says 3. Marcus got 9. Aisha says 7. Legend says 7. Common said, I did 5 tequila shots when they drafted Sam Williams. So we're going to go with 5, common sense Cowboy fan. Lemitra got 8. 6 for David. CJ 3.5. Chuck P 6 to 8 for Sam. 9. 5.5 for Matisse. Joey got 9. 6 to 8 for Captain. 3 for Quiddy. 10. 8 to 10 for Common. Yo. If Sam Williams gets 10 sacks, Adam Robbins, you are the winner of the high number here. 13 sacks. Cannonball Cowboy, 11. 7 says Demetrius. 6 for Andrew. 6 for Jose. 6 for Mike Harris. 8 for Jacob. 5.5 for Quiddy. I guess he changed. Toxic, you wildin', man. 25. For the team. Some of these double digits are capped, says T-Mac. Uncut with 6 to 10. That's a big range. Yo, wow, man. Anything in the double digits to me is that's a miracle. I'll be jumping for joy if he did that. I'm going to go ahead and I think this number is higher for me for Sam Williams. I got him at about 5 to 6, anywhere between 5, 5.5, 6 sacks. And here's why I think it's higher. If you actually go back and look last year, and I know last year doesn't necessarily mean the same thing's going to happen this year. Nobody finished with more than 6 sacks on this team except Micah Parsons. And that's with playing with Micah Parsons. So, yes, D-Law is going to be here. That'll help Sam Williams or whoever else is on the other side of Sam Williams. But they're not. I don't think he's going to play 50 snaps per game. So if he gets 4, 5, 6 sacks in the opportunities that he gets, and he's only playing 28 to 31 snaps, I think that's a good rookie year. And I think most of these snaps or sacks are going to come via the, I just outrushed you in the sense of out hustled you to the quarterback, chasing you down type of sacks. I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot of technique things where he's just blowing by tackles or guards from a technique standpoint. He'll blow by them from a physical standpoint. He's faster than you, maybe stronger than you at the point of attack, depending on who your tackle is, Storm Norton. So, if he gets matched up with a bum, yeah, I think he'll get some. But I got 4 to 6, 5 to 6, and I think I'm more on the lower end. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, if he gets 5 sacks, I don't want people to come back here and be like, oh, man, what a wasted pick. Obviously, we have to go back and see how he got him. Did he get him like Randy? Because let me tell you something right now. If he gets his sacks like Randy, teams is in trouble for the following seasons. If he gets him like Doris, it's like, okay, he got some second, move sacks. He got some hustle sacks. Other players pushed him into him type things. Maybe 1 or 2 of those sacks came on his own. Not a bad rookie situation. Not a bad rookie situation at all. But we got it. Listen, y'all. 11, 13. Veterans didn't even do that last year. Hell, D-Law is a beast, and he hasn't done that in like 4 years. I digress. JT asks, how many sacks do I think Jabril Cox gets? I don't think they'll rush him much. I mean, now they could end up rushing Jabril Cox. I don't think he's going to get many. 1. I don't really see him doing too much. Joey, I think I think next we're going to have to talk about defensive tackles. Oh, you know what? We will. Just be patient. I think later this week we'll talk about it. But Joey wants to know, do I think we'll stop the run this year? I hope we'll be better. I hope we'll be. All we did was draft one extra guy in the draft. So I'm not going to sit here and give y'all Skittles and rainbows. They did address it in the draft, but I just got to see that, man. Just got to see that. I think if Mike is playing mostly linebacker, though, possibility you improve a little bit. But they didn't really go full-fledged addressing that interior, in my opinion. They should have. I think they should have went harder, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, Craig wants to go get Sue. All right. Let's go to the next guy on this list. Excuse me, y'all. It's not Sam. It's Chauncey. And I had a hard time with this one. Because I wasn't going to put him here. But I did so, and somebody, I think it was Joey, who asked me, why is there a question mark next to him? Well, it's a question mark because he put on 20 pounds to play inside. And the reports coming out of OTAs, early OTAs, were that he was getting primary work inside. But also that you may see him do some 5-tech stuff, which isn't necessarily defensive ends. It's defensive end stuff in a 3-4. Those guys are more approaching the 290, 300-pound range as opposed to your 250, 260, 265 edge rusher type of weight. So for those who missed out on this whole Chauncey getting big thing, I do have the audio from our guy Kyle Yeomans who talked about that exactly. Just listen to what Chauncey told him, what Kyle observed when he was down there, and why I think you should be excited about Chauncey Goldston if he does move inside a little bit. So take a listen. You jotted down a few notes on Twitter that I wanted to get at and one of them was about Goldston. Now, Osa sat out apparently with was it a hip or a quad? I think it was a quad contusion. And Chauncey Goldston apparently got some work inside, and this is what you had to say about it. He stuck out to me both with his build, he's much bigger, and his speed. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, and I actually have an article coming out today on DallasCowboys.com that you can check out that kind of dives deeper into that. I had a great conversation with him after practice, and I it was funny because we showed up and we sat down. We were right beside the defensive linemen, specifically the edge rushers, for the first portion of individual drills. And I looked up and I was like, who is 99? And of course, he wore 59 last year. I was like, who is 99? And this is the first time that I've seen him in that number. I looked down at my little roster card. And I was like, there's no way that's Chauncey Goldston. This is a typo. I mean, he looks massive, like big in a good way. I mean, his arms are bigger, his legs are wider, and he's got more on the core side of things. Like, he looks big. And so watching him, I was like, okay, so he looks big. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And then when they were in drills and you were looking for get off and you're looking for quickness and the bend and the ability to kind of move, he was one that still was as quick as the other guys. I mean, he didn't lose a step in terms of his size. So initially my note on my notepad, I wrote, Chauncey Goldston looks big, and I capitalized big and underlined it because I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then after that, I said, and he has the same speed. So the fact that he didn't have any kind of drop off from a speed standpoint, but his size was there, was impressive. So I went up to him after. I was like, hey, how much have you gained this offseason? He said 20 pounds. Wow. So he was like, I've put on 20 pounds. And I was like, how did you do that? And he's like, I hired a chef. I've got my body right. We've really taken a step to moving forward with me in a full off season. I was like, that is awesome. And he's anticipating that he would play a little bit more of the 3 technique, maybe a little bit more of a 5 technique. And he played 2 snaps last year as a nose tackle. I don't know if he's going to do any more of that specifically, but I would expect maybe more of a versatile role for him, bouncing along that defensive line. He may take more snaps as an interior defensive lineman than he would as an edge rusher. He still worked with both yesterday, so it's not like it's a completely full-time switch, but it's trending that direction. They want him to be versatile, and right now he's showing off that versatility in the early parts of OTAs.
It's trending in that direction. Interesting, man. And now you guys can understand why I put the question mark on Chauncey Goldston. And honestly, I probably shouldn't even have put him there, but I wanted to because until we get to the preseason or camp, I should say, I'm not going to fully put him in there until I see it or it comes back or it gets put down as a defensive tackle or defensive end as a 5-tech type dude. But, this was at the beginning of OTAs. As OTAs continued to roll through, I remember Dave came out and said, hey, man, he's been primarily a defensive tackle, so I probably shouldn't have did it. But nonetheless, man, if he is still playing some edge, I think he's going to be more asked to do some run-stop things as opposed to getting after the pass rusher. But if he slides inside, which it sounds like he will be doing, as a 3-tech, how do we think he'll perform? Let's predict the sack number for Chauncey Goldston. And I know more than just sacks when it comes to this position, but we're just doing sack numbers from right now. Last year, he only had one of them, but I thought, for a 3rd-round pick in a rotation, I thought he had an okay year. It wasn't like it was a disappointment or anything like that. I think he realized and they realized, well, if we want to take advantage of his length, of his quickness, of some of his unique ability to move inside, let's just move him inside. And I think that's what they're doing. So how many sacks for Chauncey Goldston, Cowboys Nation, do you guys see for next year? Demetria got 3. Craig 2. Joey 4. Asmodeus 3.5. James 4.5. Man, y'all crazy with these numbers. B47, shout out to my guy. He says 6 to 9 if they let him play more. 3 for Chauncey, 5 for Chauncey, says Chuck P. 1, says Oscar. Monkey. Interesting name. Says 3. Jermaine got 5. He's going to be some trouble since he upgraded to 99. Hey, Quiddy, I think 99 is one of the dopest numbers in football. If you wear 99, you got to perform. Strangely, the player I think of, and if I'm wrong here, y'all let me know, but LaVon Kirkland, if I'm not mistaken, wore 99, right? I don't know why that just stands out to me. Probably because he was a 300-pound linebacker. He was a tank, dude. Dude was just a very strange-looking player, but he was a beast in college, and he was a beast in the pros. But LaVon Kirkland, I think, wore 99. I know there was other plenty beast 99s, but LaVon sticks out to me. 3 to 5, says Swain. 5 more tackles for loss, says Jermaine. Maybe I should have did tackles for loss. Demetrius 4, T-Mac 2, CJ 5. Big H got 4. LaRon says 0. The Lunatic 3.5 to 4.5. Aisha, Chauncey was brought here to stop the run. Yeah. Hopefully he does that well this year. Marcus 3, 5.5 for A Hatch. Scott 6. Boy, a lot of y'all seem to be kind of in that. Yeah, Warren Sapp too. Absolutely. Aaron Donald, of course, I know. But I'm just thinking of my old school. I've got 3 tops for Chauncey. This, again, I'm not expecting Chauncey Goldston to go in there. Osa's the guy that I think. Now, once we get to the defensive tackle, we'll talk about Osa. But Osa's the guy that I think is going to get the high number sack rate in regards to DTs. I don't really see Chauncey coming in here and just going crazy from a sack standpoint. But I think he can get 3.5, 4 sacks. But what I want to see him do, and like somebody said, if you look at that, do I have the tackles for loss? I do not have the tackles for loss up there. I do not. Okay. What I want to see is more stops. What I want to see is more tackles for loss in the backfield, more disruption from the defensive tackle position. I know we're not supposed to be talking about DT right now, but it was brought up. He's going to be moving into DT. We need more disruption in there. When your best defensive tackle last year, this is no joke, was Carlos Watkins, think that's a problem. Think that's a problem. So we just need a little bit more than that. I remember George Selvey now. And guess what? He was a beast for 1 year, too. James thinks he's going to be better than Dorrance. Speaking of Dorrance, we about to get there. Mel got 1 to 2. 5-footer got 3.5. I think 3.5 is about the max. I'd go with Chauncey. Anything more than that, I'd be pleasantly surprised and happy. Danny says 3 to 5. If he put on 20 more, if he put on 20 pounds more, run stop. I guess he means more of a run stopper. No, James, we have not done Dorrance, but let's get to Dorrance and Terrell Basham. I'm going to kind of just squeeze these guys together here because to me, they're both kind of similar players in the sense of I think they're more reserve guys. I think Terrell Basham and Dorrance Armstrong are more rotational reserve rushers. Now, in regards to Terrell Basham, that's what he had been his whole entire career, but very, very, very quietly, he had a career year last year for Dallas, believe it or not. Sounds crazy, but he did. He had a career high in tackles, solo tackles, assisted tackles, and he tied a career high in sacks with 3.5. I don't necessarily think that Terrell was a liability. I kind of like his veteran presence. He comes in and he plays with some juice. He was reliable. He played in his most games of his career. He was the only guy really to play in every single game and not really get dinged up. So, I don't have a problem with Terrell Basham being here for what he's here for. It's not costing you a whole lot. So, as a reserve dude, bring him on. I'm all for it. And real quick, I'm not even going to ask y'all for a sack number for Terrell. I think it's going to be right around the same thing, about 3.5, for. So we don't even really need to go there. I don't look at him as a difference maker type of dude. I thought personally he contained the edge pretty decently last year. You saw him sometimes get caught sucking, like that coming in, but that's a good read and react. But I had no issues with Terrell Basham. I'm glad he's back. He could be a guy that could be a surprise cut, though, right? If somebody else steps up because it's not going to cost you a lot, I wouldn't do it. You need bodies. It's a 17-game season. He's a reliable dude. I don't have any issues with Terrell Basham. But when we talk Dorance Armstrong, I went back a little bit and did some more digging on Dorance Armstrong. His contract situation is a lot more interesting than I realized. Remember, y'all, he signed that 2-year, $13 million deal for 2022. You would think, $6.5 million a year per year, right? Yeah, that's the whole numbers there. But his cap hit this year is only $3.3 million, so he's not costing you a whole lot this year. However, next year, his cap hit goes to $7 million. I wonder if we could be looking at a very short Tyrone Crawford situation. Meaning, if DA, who is still young, 24 or something like that, 25 years old, can continue to get better as a player, and he's going to still be around a lot of talent. But if DA doesn't really surpass what he did last year, let's say he doesn't even hit what he did last year, he kind of regresses in a sense from a statistical standpoint, because they like to look at those numbers. They could potentially get out of his deal next year. Listen to this. If they trade him before June 1st or cut him, they'll save $4 million with only a $3 million cap hit in 2023 and be done with it. Easy peasy, done. Or if they designate him a post-June 1st cut or trade him post-June 1st, they'll save $5.5 million on the cap, and they'll split that $3 million dead over the next 2 years, and it'll be $1.5 million. In a normal circumstance surrounding Dorance Armstrong, if you really wanted to save money to go get a guy, that's a prime candidate right there if he doesn't surpass what he did in 2021. But Dallas doesn't usually use that money to go get anybody. So unless they're going to cut him to pay CeeDee Lamb, to pay Trayvon Diggs, to pay whoever is on their 1-year deal and they just go berserk this year, right? I think they're going to eat the $7 million regardless of what he does next year. I just do. But I just thought his contract was more interesting than I had thought so at the beginning when he signed his deal and the details came out. So I've got DA as an interesting guy to pay attention to this year, because if he doesn't play up to what he did last year, he could be a guy that could be on a chopping block next season. But that's a long ways down. Long ways down. What you want to see DA do is continue to trend in that right direction. Continue to trend. Swain says DA will not be here next year if he don't ball out. The Lunatic also believes DA is a 1-year deal. You see what I'm saying? It's an interesting deal. Because $7 million ain't, it ain't going to break your bank, but on a cap is what I'm talking about. But if I could take that cap hit from 7 to 1.5 and get $5.5 million back in return to put that into a better player, you best believe I would do it. Y'all know me. This is true, Oscar. Jerry loves him some Dorance Armstrong. This is very, very true. Legends, he's a favorite of Jerry, though. Yep. Toxic says, save money to get a guy? Sky, you lost me. I know, man. That's why I said, if this was just normal, other teams do this type of thing, go out and get an outside free agent, this makes sense. But Dallas, Sean Lee, Tyrone Crawford, they tend to hold on to these guys, even if, I hate to use the word worth, even if they can move on from them, save money, and go get a better player. They just, for whatever reason, they decide to keep them around. Jacob, and get a comp pick back? No. So if you cut a guy, you do not get a comp pick. The comp pick only kicks in if their contract runs out and they get signed. And they get signed to a deal that gets you a comp pick. So a cut really won't do anything. D Shift, we thought LVE wouldn't be here. Now LVE was a free agent. They didn't save any money on LVE by cutting him. He was already on the market and he was re-signed for $2 million. So really doesn't affect you there. $2 million, $7 million. Now, history shows, like I said, if this is a Tyron Crawford situation, they kept Tyron around. They kept Sean Lee around. And these guys are way more established in the locker room than DA is, but history kind of shows that they'll keep DA around unless he's just absolutely terrible, unless they change their stripes and go use that type of money to sign a guy. I don't see it. So he's going to have to play up to this. And here comes the question. Predict the sack number for Dorance Armstrong. Fan base seems to be, I don't want to say split on him. I think most of Cowboys Nation believes Dorance Armstrong's a quality reserve guy, but there's some people that believe DA is a dude. I wouldn't say DA is a dude. I'd say he's a quality rotational piece. How many sacks for DA? I'll call it a push from last year. I'll give him 5. I'll give him 5 because D-Law, barring injury, right? We got to say these things. I think D-Law, if he sticks around for majority of the game of the season, he's going to help all those dudes get sacks. That's just what he does. Micah Parsons is going to help those guys get sacks. This is what he does. And Dorance is going to be a guy that probably plays, if I had to guess, the most snaps of all of those rotations. Because let's be real, all these guys aside from D-Law are rotational dudes. I think he'll play the most snaps out of all of them. So I got DA at 5 sacks this year. 6, 7, 4, 4 to 5, 6, 3, 8, says Legends. Where my guy Marv at? Because I know Marv said we getting 50, 11 sacks this year. He probably got all these dudes getting 10 sacks. TC got 6. Yeah. Let me do this. I'll go from about 5 to 6.5. I think 7, I'll cap it out at a 7. But 5 to 6.5, yeah, sure. 3 to 4 says captain, so you think he'll regress in the sack department. If anything, DA also, he plays plenty of special team snaps. I like linebackers, safeties, and wide receivers. Defense ends on special teams are strange, unless it's like field goal type stuff. He should get more PT, says Andrew. DA got paid. He had 4 sacks for me, says the lunatic. Why you do that to him, Toxic? 5, but he has to compete all year with Sam Williams to keep his job, which I love, by the way, Jermaine. Excellent point. He's one of the guys that I think if Sam Williams shows up by week 6 and he's just like, yo, we can't keep him off the field, I don't think we're going to see a who was it? We had Mike Nolan save Donovan Wilson, Darian Thompson situation, where it was like, all right, coach, how much more do you want to see that Darian Thompson is not the dude, right? If Sam is showing up in his rotation and DA is kind of just a guy out there, he could be the one. Now there's multiple dudes that could be the one that he could come in for. But DA, I think, is going to be your primary right defensive end. I'm using air quotes because he's going to have these dudes all over the place. All right, before we get to the final 2, the big 2, in my opinion, let's hit the phone lines, man. We got, let me put you in there. We got D Shift on the horn.
What's up, Scott?
What up, Shift?
Not much, man. The end position, I think it's a sneaky one just because of what you don't know about Fowler, which you haven't touched on yet. But if I can just give a quick opinion about, I think with Fowler, it's going to be kind of like that Robert Quinn effect. I think it's a guy just with immense talent who just finds himself in a team that wasn't that good. And then once he, kind of shifts over to a team where they have a lot of talent. And you're talking about, Parsons, he made that pass rush relevant again, because I think when we look at the Eagles game, I think Lawrence and Gregory may got some snaps, if I'm not mistaken.
What Eagles game? Schiff, I lost you completely, brother, for about 30 seconds. I think we're back now, though. So I just wanted to let you know. I kind of lost you right at the Dante Fowler situation. My mixer kind of had a little spasm, but I think we're back good now. So
Okay.
Go right ahead, brother.
Okay, so man. So the point I was making with Dante Fowler was just the fact that he's still a talented player. He was just on a bad team, a very bad team. When you're talking about 18 sacks for the year, that's just something that just really caught my eye about Atlanta. And anything coming out of Atlanta, you can't really, we saw that with Dan Quinn. You couldn't really judge what he would do with talent versus what he didn't have in Atlanta. And I think the same holds true for Dante Fowler. I think with the end, the key, I think, and the opportunity for one of these ends is the fact that you didn't see Lawrence or Gregory really healthy all year last year. So you never really got that true pass rush other than the fact that you had it with Parsons, and Parsons is what made all those guys effective. When you saw him sit out at that last Eagles game, nobody was really effective, right? I think those first couple of drives, their backup running backs were just kind of running up and down the field.
I throw out that entire game. I don't put any context into that game because of the situation. Like I don't even watch the film on it. Only for like the backup offensive lineman I think we had in there. He had a couple series I wanted to look at, but other than that, I completely throw that one out, to be honest with you.
I mean, again, for me, not so much like really taking the game serious at all. I don't use it to brag on it, against the Eagles.
Brag, just even the snaps, because they played literally against the Eagles, second and third string offensive linemen.
Well, and that's my thing. Like the fact that they didn't look very effective, you know what I mean? That just told me that Parsons brings a very big effect for this for this defense. And the edge rush.
But I didn't need the Eagles game to tell me that.
No, I don't. It was just more of a confirmation and a addition to the point, kind of obvious, but at the same token, again, when you're putting these defensive ends, these edge rushers in perspective, it just gives me a lot of optimism, because I would argue that we have more coming back this year than we had a lot of questions in Armstrong. We had some questions.
We know more starting now than we did last year, in a good way.
One of the things with Gregory and Lawrence, you really depended on them. You really wanted them to be the guys. Lawrence unfortunately had the injury, and Gregory was injured a little bit too. So you never really got to see that trifecta, so to say, with Lawrence, Gregory, and Parsons all year. You didn't get it.
You didn't get a chance to see it, all year. You got I think it was 7 games of it as opposed to 17 that you want. But so once we get to D-Law and them, D-Law really is the key to this whole entire unit, if we keep it a being.
And just because of what he can add for Parsons, and I don't know. It's a hard thing, because as soon as you started backing Parsons off a little bit, I don't know if we were still effective, but again, if we want the argument of who are the teams that you were beating, and we want to pat ourselves on the back for beating Washington when they had their starting offensive lineman out, then that's that's a kind of a wrench to throw in there. But I think overall, just with the additions of Fowler and Williams together, I think that's going to give you more insurance than what you just had in Gregory, trying to be a counterpart for Lawrence. And at the end of the day, you look at the matchups. I was kind of peeking into just the offensive lines we're playing. I think you have 7 games you play, with the Eagles being twice, where you have respected offensive lines. And then the other ones are, kind of out of that top 10. But I think our defensive line, just with the edge rushers, were more potent. You just have more at that. Even with the loss of Gregory, I think Fowler's going to be a huge surprise for us. He's going to kind of have that Robert Quinn effect. So I'll just sit back and listen, man, and have a good week, bro.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Kind of stole my thunder there with the Dante Fowler, but he's up next. And right in my notes, real quick, gotta fix this because I can't hear My whole thing just completely went to crap on me here. 1 second. There we go. Where you at? There we go. In my notes here, I have the Dante Fowler signing is very reminiscent of the, not Dan Quinn, but Robert Quinn trade. Let's see. There we go. Very reminiscent of the Robert Quinn trade. And if I could go to his highlights here, you'll see what I mean in regards to having juice. I've been saying this ever since, they got Dante, went and studied him. He's not done. He's not washed. He's not any of that stuff. The dude still has pass rushing moves to get it done. And the difference between what we're going to be asking him to do and what I think Atlanta was asking him to do is going to be very vast. I don't think he has to be the guy here. No, in fact, I know he doesn't have to be the guy here. And I'm not saying that they dedicated a whole bunch of attention to Dante Fowler. This isn't 2019, but we're going to go to that. We're going to go back to that. Where he had 11.5 sacks and he was super disruptive. But what I mean is DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. I personally think that Osa is going to be a guy. I think he might have this Grady Jarrett type of appeal to him at some point. Last year, all really Dante Fowler had to deal with, that Dante Fowler had next to him was Grady Jarrett. And he wasn't, spectacular last season. It wasn't bad. I don't want to make it seem like Grady was terrible. I'm like, that Grady's a beast. But you look at, this is just last year. I'm not even going back. Look at some of the moves that he used, the bend, the quickness, the speed, the bag that he has. You see all the talent that made him a first round pick, a top 5 pick, 3 overall. So I said, let me go back and see where he played next to an Aaron Donald and Clay Matthews and guys that, deemed attention, guys that were even better than the guys in Atlanta, and see how Atlanta used him, because they were more of a versatile front than Dean Pease was in Atlanta. And they had Dante doing a lot of the things I think you'll see Dan Quinn having him do. Standing up, moving around, taking advantage of these one-on-one opportunities. I mean, Matthews is not some bum of a tackle right here, and he just whoops on him and creates forced fumble. I'm much higher on Dante than I think a lot of people are, is what I'm getting at. And I personally think if he doesn't, crap the bid, he absolutely could have a Robert Quinn-esque season. Not saying he's going to get 14 of them things. Like Robert Quinn at 14. That was worthy of a Pro Bowl year in regards to rushing the passer. But I think Dante can be very close to double-digit sacks, because think about it. He's going to be going one-on-one majority of the time. So I ask y'all, how many sacks for Dante Fowler? I'll give him my number here in a second, but I'm very interested to see what y'all got to say about him. How many sacks for one Dante Fowler? Well, you said the Giants O-line don't count. He's going to be playing the Giants O-line twice. We'll take it. What you talking about? He going to be playing them boys twice. Although they did just I think they just drafted one of the top offensive tackles, but it is what it is. Hey, who cares? 9 for Captain, 7 for Tom, 8.5 for TC. Fowler could have 8 to 10, but 12 tackles for loss. 7 for Adrian, 12 for Derek, 8 for Andrew, 6 for Dante, 6 to 8 for Jermaine, 8 says Monkey U, 10 to 14. So that is a Robert Quinn-esque type of year. 7 for Marcus. I think Ghostface is saying 10. 8.5 for Gregory. I switched to 5-2-4 defense with the guys we have now. Big Flock, you're going to see Dan Quinn do a lot of. You're going to see it. In fact, I think at some point during this offseason, I'm going to pull up more of those unique looks he did, just so we can kind of remind each other that this isn't a traditional defense. It's not. It's more multiple than the first year we had a multiple defense under Mike Nolan. Remember? Oh, we just heard that term. Multiple. We just kept hearing it, but it was more 3-4 than anything, and it was just terrible. But this is way more multiple. Quinn is a much better defensive coordinator. And in year 2, I think Dan Quinn is going to do a lot of things. A lot more things. 12 if he's a starter opposite of D-Law, says Lamar. I got shanked with a butter knife. 6.5 for Ben, 8.5 for Jaws, 7 for T-Mac, 9 for LeRon. Demetra believes our defense will be top 3, uncut coke 8. All right, so I've been thinking about this for a while with Dante. Here on June 21st, Dante seems to be going under the radar a little bit. I actually have him. I do have him at double digits. And this could be a little bit of Kool-Aid. Maybe I'm pouring a little bit of Kool-Aid in there. But I got him at double digits. I got 10 sacks for Dante Fowler. In fact, I'll go a step further. I think Dante Fowler will have the most multiple sack games on the team. Not named Mike Parsons. Let me just throw that out there. I should say of the defensive ends, of the edge rushers. Micah's in an entirely different group by itself. Micah could have 20 sacks if he wanted to, and 5 sacks of multiple sack games. But of this group right here, I got Dante Fowler leading the group, in double-digit sack games. And y'all know me, man. I am not listen, so before y'all kill me, I don't drink Kool-Aid. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. Too much sugar right now. I don't want to be a diabetic. So if I'm saying that, y'all know it's not just coming out of, Skittles and rainbows. We don't do that over here. I find it hard. I watched, and not all the games. I put together about 6 of the games from him last year. I see the traits. I still see the speed. I still see the moves. I still see the bag. And honestly, the hunger. I'm starting to put that up there. How hungry are you? How determined are you? How much do you want to be great? And the contract should make him hungry. The environment should. Dan Quinn is back. He's got something to prove. I just think Dante could easily have a very Robert Quinn-esque type of year where people wrote him off. Robert Quinn's washed. He ain't do jack in Miami. Waste of a 6th-round pick. Robert Quinn came in here and was your best pass rusher. Not saying Dante will do that, but I think Dante will. I think he'll be good. Now, he ain't gonna be here long term. I think he'll get his little good 8 to 10 sacks, and he'll sign somewhere else for decent money, and we'll get the little comp pick or whatever. But I do think Dante Fowler can pick up the slack at the very least of losing Randy Gregory. And I know that's a hot topic button there. Like, oh, Randy Gregory ain't this, he ain't that. He only has 6 sacks. I do think he can get more than 6, but I also think he'll play more games than Randy. Randy missed 4 games last year, 4 or 5 games. So I think he would have had more than 6 sacks had he not been injured. But Randy was also extremely disruptive from a playmaking standpoint and pass rushing standpoint on the field. I think Dante could have a very similar effect from a pass rushing standpoint. Now, run defending, I don't know if he'll do all that, but pass rushing, yeah. Wow, 5-footer said he can be Micah 2.0 but 4-time edge rusher. That's lofty expectations. Yeah, I don't want to be a diabetic, Demetra. I can't do the. Listen, every time we make Kool-Aid, the Dallas Cowboys sneak over, break into the crib, and add extra water. So it ain't as good. So I'm not making any until they give me the reason to start making it. Legend says he has the talent to do it. Shout out to you, Lamar. I appreciate the donation here.
Super chat.
He says everybody comes to DC to ball out for the next bag. I don't know if you're lying there. He says Quinn, Cobb, yeah. Demetra wants to know if I have a number on how much Stephen Jones spent on our defense this year. Including the guys the Cowboys brought back, plus Dante Fowler, because that's all they got in free agency. Think about that for a second. We signed one defensive free. I would have been like, listen, we about to stack this defense. If we're going to lose XYZ offensively, we turning this defense all the way up. But it went on, got Dante. $3 million for Dante. I think 2 to 3 for LVE. They had a 2-year, $8 million contract for Hooker, 2-year, $10 million contract for Curse, 1-year minimum deal, I think, to Watkins. And I think that's it. So, in total, not a whole lot. Probably less than $20 million total. 100% less than $20 million total, right? 5, 9. Oh, yeah, a little less than $20 million. So, now they wanted to re-sign Randy. Randy would have probably hit you about $7 to $10 million on the cap this year with the money, but that didn't happen. Swain says, if we sign another linebacker, will LVE make the cut? Sure. The linebacker room ain't deep, Swain. It's just not. And I like the young bucks, but we got to be real here. I'm not counting on an undrafted free agent linebacker to make the room get over the hump, right? Like, are we really thinking that? No. So I think, from Micah Parsons and LVE, after that, I love Jabril Cox, but he's more of an unknown right now because he got hurt. I'll give us those 3 guys. After that, Luke Gifford is what he is at this point, and then there's, the undrafted guys. And then Devin Harper, who's a 6th-round pick. So if you cut LVE, I just think you make the room even slimmer. I would keep LVE around just for the sheer fact. I don't think LVE is a liability per se. I just don't think LVE is much of a difference maker. Sky thinks it's going to be Dante's Inferno. I was thinking, is it Dante's Peak? Isn't that the movie? The volcano movie? I love natural disaster movies. Dante's Peak, and what's the there's 2 of them. Maybe it's called Volcano. The one with Jones in it. What's the name? Jones. Ground starts cracking. There's like a volcano under the city. But then Dante's Peak is the one where the volcano exploded with the 007 guy in there. Yeah, Dante's Peak. See, I'm getting my movies mixed up here. All right, Tommy Lee. I said, yeah, Tommy Lee. My bad. All right, we got one more, and he's the big one. DeMarcus Lawrence. On one hand, what I'm about to say, and I already said it to D Schiff, you can be like, nah, man, what do you mean? We were fine without him. I personally think DeMarcus Lawrence is the one guy that makes or breaks this unit. Because you need a DeMarcus Lawrence, I think, on that opposite side of all these other dudes to take the pressure off of them and allow them to eat one-on-one. And if teams want to disrespect D-Law, put him one-on-one. He's going to whoop your tackle too then. But I would hope, Cowboys Nation, that D-Law had gained your respect when he came back last year. And I would hope, for those that was complaining about the money, he also gained your respect because he took essentially a cut in a way because he didn't have any more guaranteed money, but the cap hit was ridiculous. But nonetheless, he signed an entirely different 3-year deal. And that 3-year deal wants something like this: 3 years, $40 million, $12 million that signing bonus, $30 million guaranteed with an average salary of $13.3 million. Now listen, what more does he have to do for y'all that hate DeMarcus Lawrence, that don't believe in DeMarcus Lawrence? He took the pay cut. Y'all said he get paid too much. He basically signed one of the most team-friendly defensive and edge rushing deals you can have. Even if he misses games, he's worth that cap hit, which is only $14 million this year. Even if he misses games. This is what he did upon his return, by the way. 22 pressures, 3 sacks, a pick, a touchdown. He only missed 1 tackle he was docked for, 6 quarterback hits, 12 stops, a forced fumble. I mean, dude was just all over the place when he came back. All over the place. Here's where it gets interesting. Next year, if D-Law, and I did this with DA, so I got to be fair and do it to D-Law. If DeMarcus Lawrence has another year, he's missing 10 games. If isn't great. His cap hit is $26 million. But here's the problem. You're really not saving any money by moving on from him. So at the very least, DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be sticking around through 2023, regardless of what he does in 2022. Because when you go look at the numbers here, if you release him pre-June 1st, you're taking a $35 million dead cap hit. And you're not saving any money. You're losing $9 million. You release him, you trade him pre-June 1st, $20 million dead cap hit. You're only saving $6 million. And then it's even worse if he's a post-June 1st release. You have a $41 million cap. So, dead cap. So, D-Law is going to be around here, guys. He ain't going nowhere next year. Much like it kind of very similar, actually, to the Ezekiel Elliott contract. Does you no good by getting rid of him because the way his contract is structured. But if you go look at how D-Law played, people don't call him a playmaker. He was that. He was a playmaker. And I actually dubbed him I had one forced fumble. After week 13, he had 2 total throughout the year. In 7 games? So I got DeMarcus Lawrence here. We're going to do predict the sacks for D-Law. I got DeMarcus Lawrence now. This one's may shock you a little bit. I don't have him leading the team in sacks. If I'm going to say that Fowler is going to have 10, I actually got D-Law at 8. So y'all predict the sacks for D-Law. I got D-Law at 8. And honestly, that's what I think he is. He is a really good pass rusher, an elite run defender, but one of the best all-around defensive ends in the game. Unfortunately, all around is not what they pay you the $20 million a year bucks for. It's the sacks. I don't really view him as the 14, 15 sack guy that year he had 14. I view him as a guy that gets 8 to 10. 8 to 10 sacks. And I got him at 8, but I got him being disruptive. I got forced fumbles here. I got a ton of tackles for losses. I mean, I think D-Law is going to be your best defensive end on this team, period, barring injury. Barring injury, he's going to supplant himself back into that conversation where people are showing him respect, not just the PFF grades, because they love him over there at PFF. But the film shows it. I hope Cowboys Nation gets back with him because he deserves it. Dude is a really good player. Yeah, Sam, I told you I shocked people with that one. I got Fowler at 10. Yo, I think he'll take advantage of playing opposite of D-Law and taking advantage of playing opposite of Micah Parsons. So there we have it, man. Your 2022 State of the Unit. Edge rushers: Sam Williams, Chauncey Goldston, Terrell, Bastian, Doris, Armstrong, Dante Fowler, and Tank. I don't think this unit took as big of a hit as it may, been perceived to be once they lost Randy. And I like Randy, but I like Dante. I think Dante it can really, help you mitigate that loss of Randy Gregory. But I think if this unit is going to take a step forward, it's going to really, really need Tank to stay healthy. Sam to just do his job. I don't need Sam to go crazy. And it's going to need Dante Fowler to get back to being that dude from a pass rusher standpoint. All right, so before we wrap up this show, y'all got about 5 minutes to call in. We do got Danny on the horn. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. I'm going to get to Danny in a quick second. Henry says D-Law will have 7 sacks, Sky, but I don't know what the rest is. 6 for Marcus Callaway, 11 for Derek, 7 but 13 tackles for loss, says Jermaine. 6.5 for Gregory. Iceberg says 8 to 10. TC got 12. Swain got 6 to 8 for D-Law. Shout out to Maddenhead in the building. CT Maddenhead, 6.5. Big Flocks calling 10 sacks for D-Law. I would love to see 2 guys get double-digit sacks on Dallas. It hasn't happened in quite some time, if I'm not mistaken, right, y'all? I could be dead wrong here, but we at that part of the show. I'm just throwing it out here. Hatcher, where? That's what I'm thinking. Either Hatcher Ware or Ware Spencer, but I think more Hatcher Ware was the last time that happened. Now, maybe one of y'all can help me out in here, but I'm just really thinking back here. When Quinn got 14, nobody else got double. When D-Law got 14 and 11 or 10, whatever it was, I don't recall anybody else getting double digits. Could be wrong. Obviously, last year when Micah got 13, nobody got double digits. So I want to say Hatcher and Ware. No way, Jermaine. It could not have went back that far. Greg Ellis, D. Ware? No. Ware had 8 when Hatcher had 10. Are you serious? That's craziness. So it goes all the way back to Greg Ellis and DeMarcus Ware. We're talking, what, 06? 07? Something like that? That's wild. So Cowboys haven't had 2 guys get double-digit sacks in forever. And I think this year it's a possibility. I thought last year it could have been a possibility, but Randy got hurt. I was going to ask somebody that, Lamar. We did the numbers, right? Did we get close to Mars 50? Because we had 41 sacks last year as a team. Now we can't say close, right? Because obviously we didn't count safety sacks, cornerback sacks. We didn't even bring in Micah Parsons or the linebacker. So those guys are going to give you, between Micah and the corners, I would imagine they're going to give you close to 15 to 18 sacks. So you can add that to this group. We didn't give the defensive tackle sacks, right? So is 50 out of the question? Let's see. All right, man. We got Danny on the horn today. Danny's in. He's in a little bit later, so hopefully he's a little bit more calmed down than last time, man. He was ready to punch through the phone, man. What's up with you, Danny?
Nah, good morning. Good morning. I'm still on my first cup.
All right, cool. What's up, man?
Here's my feeling with the defensive ends with the sack numbers. Before we can count them, we got to stop the run first. And before the draft, I loved Ridgeway. You spoke about him a lot, and I'm glad we got him. But part of me is also disappointed. We waited until the 5th round. We waited till the 5th round to address getting bullied. Now Ridgeway goes down, we're right back square one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing with Tank in last year. Follow me. So now Tank comes in at the end of the year. He's fresh. Everyone else throughout the NFL is beat up.
Uh-oh.
So, of course, all I'm trying to say is, of course, you should excel. He just has to do that from day one. Listen, this is a very sneaky defense to call this year. Can we get 50 sacks? If Micah can get you 20, he definitely can. Micah gets you 20, that rest of that defense should get you 30. But I think but we have to stop the run first. That's all I'm getting at. Can this Fowler kid perform? Yeah. Can Sam Williams get a sneaky 6 to 8? Absolutely. When all these quarterbacks are running for their lives away from Micah, yeah. You got to realize Micah is making a lot of these guys look a lot better than they are.
You're right about that.
I think last year.
Sure. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. They're still going to play with Micah. He ain't going nowhere.
And now, like Sue now, they're talking about Sue going to the Raiders for a year. You know what it is, man? I still get flashbacks. I have PTSD from watching Sue with the Rams when we played them in the playoff game. Him body slamming Joe Looney. Like, come on, man. Like, why don't you throw $10 million, $8 million at this guy for 1 year? Even 30 plays a game, having a defensive tackle rotation of now Sue, Ridgeway, Goldston.
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. That would be nasty. But no, we don't want to put any money on him.
No.
I don't think we can all sit down and say, oh, Sue's way over the hill. He's going to give you nothing. I disagree with that. I think he does have something left in the gas tank.
At the very least, I think he can be better than Watkins, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you can't even use those in the same name.
I'm just saying.
In the same, yeah.
Don't pay my house now.
Yeah, no. Listen, everybody later, 306 gang. You gotta listen to Vach and Sky.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't even put on these other channels anymore. All these other channels are a bunch of clowns, man. You know, I listen to you guys.
Man,
and like I said, this defense, I just have a feeling that the defense is going to show up to play all year.
I agree.
And I hope I'm wrong. I just think I think the O-line is going to just let us down a little bit. But we'll find out.
We will, brother. I think it'll be up to Kellen and Dak really to mitigate any issues up front. It'll be up to those guys. I don't want to get you started on Kellen because I know you was about to go in. So let me take a sip of my coffee.
Like I told you, notice one of like he sits there like someone just stole his lunch money. Like that's one of the reasons I love Dak and I hate Romo. Romo was never in anyone's face screaming. Romo would just sit there like at least Dak's in people's face. Dak is yelling. Dak is motivating people. You know, and we'll leave Dak to be that person on offense.
You don't like that Tony Romo?
Tony, he's horrible. He's Danny White to me. He's Danny White. Listen, I'm telling you something right now. If Romo gets into the Hall of Fame, I'm going to quit being a Cowboy fan. He is not Hall of Fame material.
No, he ain't going to the Hall of Fame. I promise you that. He ain't going to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you. All right, everybody, listen to the radio later on. Subscribe. Do everything that you got to do. I'm old, so I just say subscribe and check in. Talk. Let me ask you a quick question. Some questions.
Quick question.
You like the Briscoes? You ever heard of them or no? They were from your neck of the woods.
The Briscoes? Are you talking? The only Briscoe I can remember is the Briscoe from WWE.
No, these are two brothers in Ring of Honor, tag team. They got giant long beards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You talking about Gerald Briscoe?
Yes. Yeah, they might be. I mean, they're two brothers.
Gerald Briscoe used to wrestle before he became, McMahon's crony. But
you're thinking about that's their fathers and uncles.
Ah, okay. Then I don't know those Briscoes you're talking about.
Yeah, they're from Delaware. They're chicken farmers. They do New Japan, Ring of Honor, but now they're in TNA. They were always fighting the Bullet Club and stuff like that. You gotta check those guys out because they have one of their videos is like when they come out is like it's Reach for the Sky. And I hear that with yours.
I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to look that up then. I'm gonna have to look that up, bro.
All right, man. You got it, bro. Great calls always.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Later.
Hey, KG, I know Tony's Mexican, man, but Tony is also, his name is Anthony, by the way, but Tony is also Italian name, you know what I mean? Let's have some fun with him, man. When Danny goes back and looks and listens to when he calls, he'll get a kick out of the music. I knew that was going to be fun. Danny's calls are always fun. But no, on a serious note, he is right. Run defense, and Aisha brought this up earlier, is going to be very important. And once we talk about the DTs, we'll get into the numbers of the run defense, and why that is also important to the defense. There's no doubt about that. Fortunately, it wasn't like, and again, this was because of how the offense performed. I think game script and things like that. Teams were not able to just consistently run the rock. Because if you did, okay, cool, shorten the game for you. We're just going to go out here on offense and score a touchdown. And now you're playing 3 for 7 or 0 for 7. And now you're catch-up mode, and boom, you can't run anymore. But, yeah, different conversation for a different day, but he's absolutely right. The run defense is going to have to tighten up. But, man, I feel like we've been saying this for a decade, dude. Like, and I'm not talking about – there was a couple years run defense-wise under Rod Marinelli. We finished, like, top 10 in yards per game. That was only because – the offense held the ball forever. Remember, there was a different philosophy at that time. We were playing keep away for the most part. So I want to see this run defense be stout in the sense of, teams are only averaging 3.9 yards per carry, 3.4 yards per carry, something like that. And they're not running for a whole bunch of rushing touchdowns on you. If they do that, I think this defense goes from just taking another step to being an elite defense. I'm not even asking for the defense to be elite, but I am asking for this pass rush group, this edge rushing group, to at the very least maintain what they did last year or be better in order for this defense to be better than what I think it can be. And I think it could be a really good defense. I'm short on calling it an elite defense. I'm short on calling it a defense that can carry your team to the Super Bowl because I got to see the run D and how they perform first. Jaws 88. Any word on Barr? Nope. No word on Barr. Maybe we will hear something once we get to camp. Uncut Coke. We are not about to go to that direction. So was Spencer and D-Ware. Thank you, Iceberg Q. Spencer and D-Ware was the last time the Cowboys had 2 double-digit sack guys on the team. I thought it might have been after that. 2012, 11.5 for Ware, 11 for Spencer. That was when Steven tagged Spencer twice. Poor Anthony Spencer, man. And in that second tag, I think what was it, a micro fracture or something like that? Something that essentially ended his career. Yes, we know his name, TC. We know his name, man. Happy Juneteenth. Is it Rami? I had a good Juneteenth day off. It was Father's Day and Juneteenth. That was pretty cool. The Lunatic says Barr is still too expensive in Catboy's eyes. You got $23 million. What is the name of the game for him? Is it to try to get as many good players as you can to win a Super Bowl now, or is it to save the cap so you can pay players later? At this point, do we have to go down this cap thing again? It's all a farce. It's all bullcrap. Don't blame the quarterback either. The quarterback's $40 million crap. He hasn't been paid $40 million on the cap yet. Not one time in his 7-year career has he accounted for $40 million on the cap. Not once. And only one time has he went above $30 million. So it's all bullcrap. Okay, the Rams just signed, Stafford to a similar deal, and they're still bringing in guys and still re-signing guys and whatnot. So we got to put that to rest. Okay, we got to put that to rest. The salary cap is not holding the Dallas Cowboys back from getting better from a talent standpoint. It's just their version of getting better is not talent, in my opinion. Any chance on getting Robert Quinn? I would give that a big fat 0% chance. 0. His cap hit, even if he's traded, is still above $10 million. I don't see them trading for an older player, even though he was extremely productive last year. Would I rather have Robert Quinn than Dante? Yeah, I think Robert Quinn is a beast. But there's 0% chance that's happening, y'all. Super Wallet says, I think the run D will be much better this year. Gallimore, Odigizua, Goldston will be better, I believe. Super Wallet, when we had Yeomans on last week, he talked about these guys focusing more on run defense. Neville Gallimore bulking up a little bit more. Goldston bulking up to play against the run. Osa just going to naturally, I heard he was even looking rocked up, but he's naturally going to be that. He was rocked up last year as a young pup coming in, so he's just going to get bigger and stronger. So do I think it'll be better? If you ask me, I do think it'll be better, but what's better? Going from 20, 30 yards per carry to 19th, 18th, that's not enough for me to be like, yo, this defense is going to be elite. If I want the defense to be elite, which is top 3, top 5 at the very minimum 5, I need the run defense to be super stout. I need team to say, yo, we can't run on them. And if we can't run on them, now your overall defense is just going to get better because I think they have already a really good pass rush. But all right, man, that is this week's State of the Unit. Edge rushers, I might actually do defensive tackles later. That's if this player comes through later on this week for the player interview. It would just be perfect way to mesh it all together. So I may do DTs on Friday, probably. If not, we'll just do a Feel Good Friday. But felt good to be back. We'll get this thing kicking back into gear, and we're gonna take this dead period and we're gonna turn it into something, man. And I just hope you guys continue to come around, because once we do get to camp, once the season does kick off, we're gonna be moving and grooving, and we may be credentialed, so we'll see what happens. Before y'all get out of here, though, do me a favor, hit that like button. It's free, it's easy, helps us out, helps spread this quality Cowboys content that I try to provide to y'all. I always say it. I will try my hardest to remove myself from the fluff. I can't stand the fluff. I don't care where or who it's coming from. I won't do that here to y'all. Y'all are smarter than that, and y'all are too good of fans for that. So we'll try to stay the course here. Also, if you're new and you subscribe and you can't comment, appreciate you. It's working, y'all. We put it to 20 minutes now. You got to sub for 20 minutes in order to comment. No bots. I love it. I love it. Hell, I haven't even seen any trolls up in here. So y'all keep holding it down, Bomb Squad. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to y'all real quick before we get out of here.
Bomb Squad!
Yeah, y'all the best, man. Y'all the best. All right, I'm gonna hit this button, and we gonna get going. Make sure y'all tune in later tonight. Mauricio Rodriguez will be back on the scene. Gotta get Mo back on here. When's the last time Mo been on our show? Hit up A to Z Sports Dallas for all your Cowboys articles. I promise you we won't be ranking them the top 2. Kellen Moore. We out here, man. I'm out. Love y'all. Peace.
Bomb Squad!